Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, picking up where we left off. So starting the day at Black Snake Creek Hut Campground, just here. So we get mobile in the morning and head south on Crooked River Road, down here, back past where we came out from Collins Hut, head across on Shortcut Road onto the Bitumen and north to Dargo for a quick refuel at Dargo and obligatory photo in front of the Dargo Hotel, and then we head north on the Bitumen for just a couple of Ks where we jump off and follow the Upper Dargo Road past 2 Mile Creek Campground, Italian Flat Campground and Jimmy Iverson's, and start our first track for the day, which is the Mt Ewen Jeep Track, or the Ewen Track as it's variably known depending exactly what map you're looking at. Starts off as a pretty steep, steady climb, and then levels off to a sort of a ridge track, and then joins up with the Mt Ewen Road here. This little track here is known as Farm Track. That's blocked off, doesn't connect through anymore. So we take the Mt Ewen Road up here to the intersection with the Matheson Track, and we were going to go down Matheson Track and sort of head that way, but despite having an easy rating, Matheson Track is actually super steep. Still, I think one of the steepest tracks I've ever driven in the high country. And because of that, and because of the conditions, we elected not to tackle it today to avoid any potential damage. So we headed out on this downy road, and then we got here and we took this track, which you can see on this HEMA map is marked difficult. It's Clark's Camp Road. This HEMA map marks it as medium. I would consider it an easy track. So yeah, Clark's Camp Road. Nice scenic drive, good alternative to the main track or the main High Plains Road, that's for sure. Really, really easy drive and pretty scenic. Then onto the High Plains Road, and where we head north on the Dargo High Plains Road for a good few Ks, pass through the big gates they've installed. It was always seasonally closed, but the gates are bigger than they used to be to stop people doing the wrong thing. And head north to the King Spur track, where we head into Devil's Hollow past Lanky Plain Hut, which we'll come back to afterwards, and head to our lunch stop at Devil's Hollow, which is a place I've been super keen to visit for a very long time, and even more keen since I saw it on one of Krusty's videos. That's Krusty from A Guy on His Troopy. So let's get into it, guys. We'll start off at Black Snake Creek Campground.
Another wet night. Camping at Black Snake Campground on the Crooked River. Just about to make a coffee. And see what we're going to get up to today. We've had wet weather sort of 2 days in a row. Hard to know what today's going to bring. Yesterday morning started off nice and fine. Didn't stay that way. So yeah, had a good fire last night. Plenty of wood left over.
So yeah, before not too long, we're getting mobile. Looks like we're ready to head to Dargo. And heading to Dargo to refuel. So you saw there, I've got the RS1 on a stretcher. Dan was using his RS1. He has that on the ground and uses a self-inflating mat, and has the Drifter half hexatar over the top of that. Luca runs his tight little swag. Forget the brand of that, he's had it for donkey's years, and usually sets that up under his Darche awning. And Paul's got his zip-on awning, and he's got one of those Oz tent bed swag things all in one. I forget what they're called. So yeah, almost a 180 here as we come out at Black Snake onto the Crooked River Road and head south towards Shortcut Road. So a few Ks, turning left. I've filmed that plenty of times, so
thank you.
Didn't put too much footage in there of that. So turning left off Crooked River Road onto Shortcut Road, That's literally what it's called, and it's a very quick run through here, just a couple of k's, back onto the bitumen, and yeah, we're heading north to Dargo on the Dargo Road, probably also known as the Dargo High Plains Road. So none of us bothered about airing up our tyres for this very short run on the bitumen. We just kept our speed to sort of 60 k's an hour to try and avoid overheating and damaging the tyres too much, being a little bit underinflated. And yeah, it doesn't take too long at all, and we're into Dargo with the iconic Dargo Hotel there on the right hand side. First off for us is the general store up here on the left, which is where you can get your fuel.
That one's for sale, that modern one.
So just pulling in behind the bike there, and of course we did have to pose for the traditional photo in front of the Dargo Hotel. And we even put our heads in front of the camera. There you go. It was a bit glary there, as you can probably tell. And Dan's car didn't want to start after he'd moved it and parked in front of the hotel. And yeah, as you can see there on screen, he's killed his crank battery. That's because Dan's secondary power is a battery box, and if he doesn't turn it off at night, he keeps drawing power from his crank battery, which is what's happened this time. Somehow he had enough juice to start and drive here, but it didn't charge up enough. Starting and stopping the car must have just sucked the cranking amps from his battery.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lucas pulled up to put some juice in and see if we can't get Dan going again. You might remember this also happened to Dan on our October trip last year on the border track. One morning his car didn't want to start, and it was the same issue. Turning it over, but not enough juice.
Oh, these are connected nicely.
So just checking the connections at both ends to make sure there is actually juice going into Dan's battery.
Try it again, Dave, because it should crank.
Much better.
On the GME control, that forward actually makes.
Great success. We think that we weren't contacting it right, so we should have just gone to the terminals on the battery, but we just went to some metal in the engine. So yeah, got better contact. And engine bays are all dirty, so that doesn't help either.
So yeah, with Dan mobile again, it was time to hit the tracks, and the plan for today was to head north out of Dargo to the Upper Dargo Road, and then up the Mt Ewen Jeep Track, which I last drove about 3-4 years ago. It was sort of a sandy, soft track. It was a good bit of fun back then with some wombat holes about halfway up. And then we were going to go down Matheson Track, but the way the weather was looking, we weren't sure about tackling Matheson Track today at all. It's a very steep track despite being marked easy on the HEMA maps, and none of us were sort of too anxious to be in a race to the bottom. So yeah, that was one we were going to play by ear, see what Mt Ewen Jeep Track was like first, and go from there. So in the interim, we're on the Upper Dargo Road, heading towards that track, and yeah, this is two-wheel drive gravel road, exactly how it looks, and there's a heap of campsites along here. You don't have to go too far, and as is always the case with these sort of things, it's a bit like the Buckland Valley. The further in you go, the less popular the campsites become. So the early ones tend to fill up really quickly. And as you can see there, we are getting a bit of that light rain today already. So that was kind of setting the tone for what we might be expecting throughout the day. So this is the first one of those campsites, 2 Mile Creek camping area. On the left there,
One oncoming, guys.
you can see nice green area, long drop toilet, bit of a shelter. Not a huge area, but certainly room for a few groups. A little causeway or concrete bridge here across that 2 Mile Creek.
Pulled out, Paul. Thanks.
And just coming up here, we're coming up on a Turkey Flat. If you looked in the far right of the frame, you can see tents and caravans and what have you down there. Italian Flat is quite a large camping area and really quite popular as well. It's probably the first of the really large camping areas, and it's still only a few kilometres in. The entrance is down here further on the right hand side, so if you're heading this way, you do have a good idea of how busy it is in there before you head in, and that's the access just there. So needless to say, we're keeping left. This section of road, you can see, has
So they've had some stabilisation issues here.
Undermined and had some collapses.
Well, gee, there's nothing holding the bank together, is there? I mean, crikey, that's an area where it's going to get washed away again.
So I'm sure that they've dealt with that more since we were coming through here. Now we're just coming up here to the next camping area, which is Jimmy Iverson's camping area. That's it there on the right. I've camped there with the family in years gone by, and the Mt Ewen Jeep Track is just up here on the left.
So our first track is just here on the left. Hang on.
This is Ewen Track.
So yeah, it's variably called just Ewen Track or Mt Ewen Jeep Track.
So I last drove this about 3 years ago probably. The trick was halfway up there's a hump and it had some big washouts over the top of it, so you just need to span them. That was about it.
Roger.
So yeah, this was dry and sandy and sort of loose shale when I drove it last. Very, very different to today. And it's quite a steady climb. Not the steepest of tracks, but just a steady climb that just kind of keeps going. Starts right from the main road there, and you're just going up. And this first hump here used to have a couple of wombat holes sort of hidden in the top of it that made life a bit interesting. So it's definitely been graded since I was last here 3-4 years ago. But you can hear the car's definitely working. And it doesn't get much of a reprieve.
Looks like they've smoothed out a lot.
So some footage here from Luca following along behind. And you'll see up here in a minute, it does get a little bit loose. And I do need to employ my favourite traction aid, being the right foot. So a little bit of a slip there, and then coming up on here a little further, you can see a little bit loose through there for me. And yeah, did manage to keep it moving, but you can see the back end is moving all over the track a little bit there.
That looks from behind.
Yeah, it looked good. Geez, there's not a lot of traction, is there?
Not compared with the tracks we have been driving. Yeah, I don't know, I'm going up, that's the main thing.
I think they were on the money though. It's definitely a track that you needed to keep the momentum up. I wouldn't have wanted to be stopping and trying to start dead. Unfortunately, no winching on this one. Able to keep the momentum going because the track's actually pretty good nick, but it is a slippery surface on the top, that's for sure. And probably worse for later vehicles in the convoy as well. Like, I'm up front, so I'm probably knocking the top off, and they're coming along behind.
Are you going down?
It's slippery, but all good.
So this is probably our first reprieve here, a little bit of a sort of a flatter section before coming into another climb. Steady climb, and we're now on the side of the range here, climbing up with a decent sort of drop off on the left hand side of the track, and it's narrowing up a little bit. So, you know, the way the trees are growing over the track makes me think this one doesn't get driven all that often. So a little bit of footage from behind. You'll see at times the 76 is still definitely moving around on the track a little bit. Nice sharp little turn here. See, much like the earlier days, the higher we're getting, the foggier it's getting.
The top of this track.
And that initial climb does sort of start to level off. It does climb a bit more after this, but that's about the first 3.6 kilometres. And as you can see on the screen there, it's about a 500 metre vertical climb over those 3.6 kilometres.
You've got a quarter of sub tank on, so I reckon I was pretty close to the consumption you had.
Can't see much beyond a few hundred metres in this fog as we're climbing into the clouds, and the track's definitely getting a little bit lumpier in these later sections, and if anything even a little bit more closed in. It's quite an interesting drive. You never quite knew what you were going to expect or find around the next corner. A little bit rutted out in sections, but nothing too difficult or onerous, certainly nothing like Scrubby Creek track, that's for sure. You can hear the tyres doing a bit of work there as I was losing a little bit of traction, but they've done their job and managed to claw me up that bit.
All good back there?
Yeah, I just need to engage tip locks.
And yeah, just continually climbing on this track. So it is the kind of track that's going to work your car pretty hard, particularly if you're a heavy vehicle. You're going to be under load climbing nearly the whole time, and it is a decently long track.
Oh, I can pick him.
You might need to hold my hand.
So Luke, if you didn't just catch it, was saying it's a spooky little track, certainly.
Where the fuck did this come from?
certainly in the conditions today, it's a bit spooky. It's got Blair Witch vibes.
Hold my beer, I feel like they moved the track.
And yeah, conditions just changed, as you probably gathered from my comment there on the radio.
There's a nice little sharp right-hander and a bit of a climb after it when you get up.
Got this massive problem with this bloody air conditioner. These stupid cars, if I consume or if I'm in low range, low speed, turn the wheel too many times, the air conditioner cuts out. It's to conserve power, so you've got maximum engine power. And I'm thinking it's a 4.8 litre engine. I don't need to. Oh, it just does my head in. Can't see anything.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well,
I think my aircon died, so I was like, fogging up, leaving camp. Took ages to get.
yeah, one of those situations in weather like this, you do need an AC or something like that to be able to run,
Yeah, there's a good little climb up there,
to
eh?
keep your windscreen clear so you can see where you're going.
I don't know with those tyres how you could need your diff locks, Luca.
Yeah, look, I did come to a standstill, but I was crawling up. I wasn't going momentum. I wasn't, thinking I honestly thought I'd have enough traction, but I didn't connect them. I thought I was going to crawl it, but didn't. Stopped, connected the diff locks, and away I went. But you know what? This GU without diff locks, it's worse than the standard GU because they've taken the limited slip diff out. So it's a real open diff with nothing there. So it's actually worse.
Oh, right, yeah, because I always thought all GUs had a really good LSD in the back.
They do, but once you get an ARB locker in it, they take the LSD out.
Yeah, right, so that's sort of the trade-off, yeah.
And yeah, as you can see on screen, the weather did not ease up at all. But yeah, those comments by Lucas, something to think about. Patrols, GUs come with a really good LSD in the back. The minute you put a rear locker in, you lose that LSD, and so you get a proper open diff, which is why some people just go with a front locker. They're happy enough with the LSD in the back and just put a front locker in their GUs. Making good time on this track, and we're just coming up here to the intersection with Farm Track, which is where the Mt Ewen Jeep Track,
Just gonna pull up,
or
just
the
up here in a second.
Ewen
Luca,
Track
okay?
ends. It's Farm Track there on the right, and we're now on the Mt Ewen Road.
This next section's a lot more level, it's marked easy. We've got a good few Ks to go before it joins the Matheson track. Based on the condition of this track and how slippery it was and the weather, I'm in two minds whether we attempt going down the Matheson track or not.
So we've just covered about 5-6 Ks on the Mt Ewen Jeep Track, and it's another sort of 4-5 Ks to the intersection with the Matheson track. But this is largely a lot more horizontal, a little bit up and down, but yeah, it doesn't have the climb in it that we've driven on the Jeep Track. So you can see here, bush is closing in pretty well from both sides. So again, quite a scenic track, very different to a lot of the high country. You get some glimpses of views at different times out to the right there, but mostly you're just feeling pretty much completely surrounded, and you do have to keep an eye out for the odd fallen tree here and there, which is typical in the high country, of course. still making good time, and that range is coming down now. Matheson track is marked easy on the HEMA maps, and I guess I can understand that in the sense that the track itself is not a difficult track, at least it wasn't when I drove it last 3-4 years ago, but it is super steep, and for that reason alone I think it shouldn't be marked easy. I was a little surprised when I drove it because I was using the HEMA reference as a bit of a guide, and it was much steeper than I was expecting. Drove at the pad, so first gear, low range, and 2 feet on the brake just about. Would have been interesting to drive at the 76 and utilise that engine braking, but with this rain coming down, it was not the day to tackle that one. None of us were interested in serious damage, so yeah, we decided to go a different way. And as I was saying, you can see how closed in this feels. I really do think this track doesn't necessarily get a lot of traffic.
Amazing how quickly the terrain or vegetation here changes. Big gum trees and tree ferns now.
Yeah, just like that, it's opened up. Here's one of the obligatory tree clearings where they have cleared just enough room. Again, glad I'm not driving a Y62 or a 200 series. That's for sure. Yeah, it was really just quite an easy drive, you know, as you would expect from something called Mt Ewen Road. It definitely deserves that designation of road. And as I said, it's actually about 10 kilometres from the intersection of Farm Track up to the intersection with the Matheson track, which we're reaching just now. So if we turn right here,
We'll just pull up here and we can reroute and talk about what we want to do next.
And that's about 9 k's. The first part of it is not that steep, but the tail end down to Harrison's Cut is just crazy super steep. So we elected not to go and tackle that, so we turned left and we're heading back towards the Dargo High Plains Road on Downey Road. And this is about a 5k run. And
a bit lumpier this section.
I did have my eye on this little side track called Clark's Camp Road, which comes off Downey Road just before the High Plains Road and then rejoins it further to the north. So never having driven that one, we thought that might be an interesting little side track to check out. You can see this part of the road is a little more torn up and a little more lumpy than other sections have been, but we're still making good time. So the more time passes with this steady rain, the wetter the track's getting. Now the interesting thing about Clark's Camp Road is that on the current HEMA maps it's marked medium. Previously it was marked difficult, and all I can say is it must have been significantly graded since those ratings were applied, because I would call it easy. As you'll see when we get there anyway. Great little drive, nice alternative to actually taking the main road, a little bit of a scenic drive that's just going to take you off the main High Plains Road, put you back on it. But yeah, definitely not difficult at all. So yeah, you can see ruts starting to develop. I mean, over time this track will get probably a little bit torn up, but right now it's not in too bad condition, and we're able to stay out of those ruts, stay on the high spots, and keep our traction up a little bit. So yeah, we've reached that intersection, and turning right off Downey Road on
I think that's the track to our right there.
Yeah, roger.
And I was literally just looking to try and see where the track started, because I thought that's not it. And then I spied these two sort of wheel tracks
Camp Road.
heading off into the bush, and I thought this looks like it, and indeed it was.
Well, it looks scenic if nothing else.
And yeah, it was a great little bush track along here. More tree ferns. Again, it's one that I think doesn't get a lot of traffic. You can see the grass is pretty well established in the centre of the track. Yeah, quite a nice atmosphere with the mist and rain and everything looking green and lush, but not difficult at all, which, you know, does make you wonder how this track came to have that rating. In the past it must have been significantly different, is all I can sort of say.
Breathe in.
Just telling the guys there to breathe in because it's a little bit tight through there. Again, just enough space being cleared. And you can see you've got the wipers going pretty steadily. And you've got to keep an eye out for little logs like that down on part of the track. You don't want to drive up onto them.
This is quite a scenic little bush drive, isn't it?
Very nice. I was thinking back there, I mean, the road's in great condition, and some parts of the tracks are actually just, you know, have grass growing all over it.
Yeah, guessing it doesn't get driven all that much.
See the rain's picked up and it's a little heavier now. Bit of damage there with some trees down. Yeah, this track's probably about 5-6 k's long, so it's a decent little run through here. And as I said, quite a nice alternative to the main High Plains Road, which we're just coming back towards now.
Alright, we're just coming up on the High Plains Road. I'm just going to pull up and double check the map.
So we didn't have a super early start this morning, and with our change of plans, we decided to head north on the High Plains Road for a few k's, probably about 10-12 k's on the High Plains Road, and head to Devil's Hollow for lunch. I have never actually been to Devil's Hollow, and it had been on my list for a while, and even more so since Krusty from the Guy and his Troopy went and camped there and posted a video. So check out Gav's channel if you get a chance. That's the Guy and his Troopy, and yeah, he camped there, magic spot. So it's been on my list for a while to go and check out. It's actually not that far off the High Plains Road. It's the classic case of one of those places that you drive past, and for whatever reason you just don't go in there. But I'd love to camp there, but today we've decided to make it our lunch spot. You can see on the main High Plains Road here, it's generally in good nick. You know, it has had a lot of work in the last couple of years, and these are the new seasonal closure gates. They certainly mean business. When they're shut, they're shut.
Those big gates are pretty new, aren't they?
Yeah, that's where they lock it up. I wasn't quite sure how far up they locked it, so now I know.
And yeah, it's quite amazing to see big open
If you're right,
plains.
Andrew, about 200 metres to the right, there's Lanky Hut to the left of us, to the left as we turn in.
This altitude.
We stayed there, it was just snow, really great.
So Luca just gave me the heads up that the turn off to Devil's Hollow is coming up. It's only a couple of 100 metres away, not far at all, and that Lanky Plain Hut is just on the left as we head in. So
Yeah, looks like the right turn here.
Roger.
turning right here onto the Kingspur track, which will take us to Devil's Hollow,
Right turn.
and Lanky Plain Hut is just down to the left, down that little track there. We're going to veer right here and head into Devil's Hollow, and it is literally only a couple of k's, yeah, about 2 k's along here to get to Devil's Hollow. And the track all along here is generally pretty good as well. Certainly somewhere you can get vans into. So if you did want to base at the northern part of this part of the high country, this would be a cracking spot to set up your base camp. There's a few campsites at Devil's Hollow, as you'll see, and I'm sure peak times they're all very, very popular, but we all know the best times to hit the high country are not at the peak times. But these would make a great base. You know, you could camp up here, set your van up, and you could head down and you could head out. You could do Blue Rag. You could head down to Talbotville and explore that northern part of the Crooked River. You could get over and do Billy Goat and get back. There's so much you can do from the base camp here at Devil Hollow. And not quite the stunted snow gums you see at higher altitudes, but not the big gum trees you see lower down either. You can see what I mean, the track's quite a good track. That rain has finally eased off a little bit, which is boding well for us for our planned lunch stop. And yeah, the odd white post to remind us this is actually a road. Just coming up on Devil's Hollow now. Up on this bluff here, there's a number of campsites. You can see there's an entrance into one there. And we're actually...
Is this the spot, Luca, or we'll keep going?
We'd actually been chatting about...
I don't remember whereabouts it was because it was such a long time ago, but it's around here somewhere, surely.
Yeah, we'd actually been chatting about Krusty's video and exactly which one of the campsites he might have been at. So... anyway,
This sort of looks like the spot to me from Krusty's video.
so yeah, don't know if we got the right one. Maybe if Gav watches this, he can tell us whether we did or didn't. You can see there's a few more further down.
There's a few sort of campsites here. Happy here for lunch?
So yeah, cracking spot to set up for lunch. Dan, of course, with his camera, getting some great footage and some stills.
Quick lunch stop at Devil's Hollow. Just a couple of k's off the Dargo High Plains Road. Been very foggy, wet, cloudy weather. Has cleared just a little. allowing us to enjoy a little bit of this view from here. There's a whole heap of different campsites along this bluff here, so it's not like there's only one spot where you get to stop at Devil's Hollow. My first time here, and well worth checking out.
So guys, as always, look, thanks for watching, especially if you watched to the end. As I've been saying, you know, we'd love to see the percentage of subscribers that are watching our videos go up. So if you like what we do, please think about subscribing, like the video if you liked it, and leave a comment down below. As always, catch you in the next one, guys. See you then. Bye for now.